It is now.
Hello, Year One. Thank you for all your fantastic questions. We have Danielle here again, who can hopefully answer them for you. Listen out carefully for your question. If you don't hear it, don't worry. Danielle is going to answer every single question for us. We are so lucky, and I will have the answers for you on Monday morning when we get back to school. Okay, so I'm going to ask the questions, Danielle. Is that okay?
I'm ready.
Okay. How long have you been a mammal specialist?
Oh, quite a long time now, Miss Walker. So probably about 25 years in total. And I've been at the university working as a professor for 20 of those years.
Woo! You've got some experience.
Yes, so it took a long time to study. So I know that was one of the questions that the class asked. So I had to study at university for 6 years to be able to do what I do. So a lot of that was time spent in the classroom, but then I also went out and did a lot of very, very, very detailed studying of bones, learning all about the past, all about the ice ages and how climate has changed. I did a lot of work in museums, and I also went to start digging up my own ice age sites.
Cool. Okay, next question. Which animal is your favourite?
Oh, that's quite a tricky question because there's lots of really good ones out there. But one of the animals that I really love is the spotted hyena. So this is the hyena that we find in Africa today. So they often have a very undeserved bad reputation, but actually they are very good animals. They are excellent hunters. They live socially in packs, so they live in big groups. And they are really interesting because although they don't live in Britain today, there were lots of them here in the past. And they are very, very adaptable animals. So they are able to live in warm times and in cold times. And they're also very interesting because they are hunters. So as well as the bones of hyenas, we often find the remains of the animals that they've hunted and eaten. So they're very, very good for leading to lots and lots of fossils for me to find.
Oh, good reasons, good reasons. I like monkeys myself.
We don't have many monkeys in the fossils in Britain, but we do have some. So one of the first things that I ever found when I was a student was a finger bone of a monkey, and it was more than 300,000 years old.
Cool. Okay, what was the last thing that you found and where did you find it?
Okay, so the last thing that I found were some teeth of a baby woolly rhinoceros. So a woolly rhinoceros is an extinct animal, and these were rhinos that have a long woolly coat to keep them warm in the ice ages. And this was a baby animal about 2 years old, and we found the remains of it in a cave that I go to and I dig in every summer. So this woolly rhino lived in the middle part of the last ice age, about 40,000 years ago.
Cool. What are you looking for now?
So I'm still doing lots of work in the cave that I started to dig, and we've been digging there for more than 10 years now. And when we started digging in the cave, it was completely filled up with mud and stones. And over the years, we've been digging down. Every year, we go a bit deeper and a bit further back in time. And the cave is filled with animal bones. And they go back in time from just a few thousand years ago, back down to about 40,000 years ago. So it's really exciting. As we go down deeper, we can find out more about how the different types of animals came and went into Britain, and the types of things that we find when it's a cold climate period or when it's a warm climate period.
That was a good question, wasn't it? Oh, this is a really good question. I'm looking forward to this question. How do animals' legs bend?
Oh, now this is a tricky, what we would say, this is an anatomy question. So this is to do with the body. Now, because I knew this question was coming, I went to my lab and I have brought something with me. So this is Billy. He is my baboon. So he is a baboon skeleton. So he is a monkey. So I know you'll be glad to see that, Miss Walker. So I brought him along because you can see how the skeleton is put together with both the front legs and the back legs. So the question was about how the legs move. And you'll see that where the legs are attached, so for example, with the front leg, we've got part of the upper arm here, and then the elbow joint, and then the lower part of the arm, and then the bones of the hand. So we've got the bones and the little fingertips here. So you can see that where the bones are attached and where they bend, these are called joints. So just like our wrist can move like that. So the baboon and other animals would be able to move their arm up and down. They would be able to bend their arm just like we can, and they could also bend all of their hands and feet like that as well. And as well as having the bones, of course, when the animal was alive, you would have almost like strings that are called tendons, which are they're like elastic bands, and they run all the way down with the bones, and they help the bones to move backwards and forwards. So that is how the animals move. Now, one of the things that's very interesting is that you can see that the baboon walks with his hands and his feet flat on the floor. And that's quite similar to what we do as humans. So people have got their feet flat on the floor when they walk. But if we look at something like a dog or even a horse, you'll see that the shape of their legs has changed. So this is something that that would take quite a bit longer to explain. But one of the things that we see over time, in fact, sometimes it takes millions of years, is that animals change the shape of their legs to show better how they can move. So something like a dog or a horse can move much faster. They can run much faster than a baboon. So they have changed the number of bones and the shape of their bones in their leg so that they're able to run much faster across the land. So that's how animal bones move. Right, we're going to put Billy down. He's going to say goodbye. And I'm going to pop him down over here.
Excellent. What is our next question? Let's have a look. Where do you find animal bones?
So old animal bones, like the ones that I look at, can be found in all types of different places. But two of the most common places to find them would be in sandy or gravelly types of places. And these are often in quarries. So these are big holes in the ground where you've got big machines like JCBs, and these are digging out the sands and gravels, and they use them for building materials. So for building houses, for making bricks, for building roads, and doing this kind of thing. So these sands and gravels, so the stones and the sand, are laid down by ancient rivers. So rivers a long time ago. And often the bones of animals that were living alongside the river, where the animals have died, their bones and teeth were washed into these ancient rivers. They got covered over with the sands and gravels. And it's not until we come along many thousands of years later with our machines and we dig out the sand and we find the bones. So that's one place that we can find them. And the other place that we can find them very commonly is in caves. So we haven't got any caves around where we live, but there are lots of caves over towards the west side of Britain and also up in the north. And again, these caves act as big holes in the landscape. They had animals that were coming in and living inside them, like the hyenas. They had things like owls that would come in, and also lots of bones of animals that were hunted by things like bears or the hyenas or wolves. These all find their way into caves, and eventually they can become fossils. So those would be the two places that I would say would be most important for finding animal bones in the past.
Cool. I think I've missed a question. Was there a question about the biggest thing you found, Danielle?
There was a question about the biggest thing that I found, and I had to go to the lab to take a photo of this because it was too big to bring into my office. So what I'm going to do is to show you a picture of the biggest thing that I've found. So we're going to try that here. Okay, so can you see that, Miss Walker?
Yep.
So This is the biggest thing that I've found, and it is a skull with the horns of an ancient type of cow, and this is called an aurochs. So aurochs, it's quite a funny word, and this is the wild great grandfather of all the cows that we have as farm animals today. So this is what we call the wild ancestor. The aurochs was the wild ancestor of all the cows that we have on our farms today. So this is absolutely huge. These animals weighed more than a ton, and very large and impressive fossil. So you can see where the eyes were on the side of the skull, and also these big horns. So a very nice specimen. I'm going to show you something else, because last time we met, I showed you a picture of a cow. Well, in fact, I showed you a cow skull. So here we've got that cow skull. This was a modern cow skull, a skull of an animal that lived until fairly recently. And this is a tooth of that big aurochs. So I've held it up so that we can compare it. On the right, we've got the tooth, the same tooth of a cow that we would find on a farm today. And on the left, we've got the tooth of the aurochs. So you can see how big they are by comparison. So
wow,
a real
so much bigger.
size. So much bigger, yes. So one of the things we've had to do as we have started to have farmed animals is to make them smaller so that we can handle them more easily. So we often find that with our animals that live on farms today, they are smaller than the wild ancestors that we used to have in the past. So that's the biggest thing that I've found.
Right, that is very cool. Right, I think I'm going to ask the last question for now, if that's all right, Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
How tall is a woolly mammoth?
So that is a very good question. So we have got lots and lots of mammoth bones, and we can therefore calculate the height of a woolly mammoth. And the male woolly mammoth got to as big as 3.4 meters high at the shoulder. So you've got to imagine that. It's nearly 3.5 meters off the ground. So this might be something when you all get back in the classroom that you've got to measure out and think how high that would be. But it's much taller than the ceiling of my office. And in fact, I've got a bone here, which might just help you get an idea of how big it would be. So this is a bone of a woolly mammoth, and it's the thigh bone. So the big bone at the top of the leg. And I'm just going to bring it into view here. So this is the top of the bone where it would fit into the hip of the animal. And I'm just going to lift it up, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And this is the bottom where the knee would be. So I'm holding it more or less in the position that it would be when the animal was alive. So I can imagine I'm looking way up near the ceiling of my office, and we are nowhere near as tall as the animal would be. So this is absolutely huge.
Wow, so we will definitely have to measure that when we get back into school year one. That's incredible. Right. I'm hoping year one that we can reschedule our visit with Danielle. So hopefully you can meet her in person, and maybe if you're lucky, she will bring some of these fantastic bones with her so you can have a look, a really close look and a hold. I hope that sounds good. Thank you so much for answering our questions, and I'll make sure to pass on all the other answers to all of the other children who ask questions. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And I really hope year one that I will get to meet you, and I'll bring along some cool stuff for you to have a look at.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, year one.